Hello everyone and welcome to Tony's Healthy Kitchen. I am your host, Tony La Ferrara. Each episode of our 10-part video series will focus on a different health topic that is important to our well-being as we get older. With the help of our guests, we will explore and learn more about each topic from a medical perspective, and we will also focus on healthy food options, fitness tips, and delicious, easy to prepare recipes that will help us improve and maintain a healthy lifestyle as we get older. So today's episode is all about herbs and spices. We know that the use of herbs and spices has been incredibly important throughout history, and many spices were celebrated for their medicinal purposes well before we started to use them in our kitchen. And now, modern science has shown that in addition to adding flavor and aroma and color to all our dishes and drinks, they also carry remarkable health benefits. And to guide us through the wonderful and colorful world of spices and all their health benefits is registered dietitian Filomena Vernace-Inserra. Hello, Filomena, and welcome back to Tony's
Hi,
Healthy
Tony.
Kitchen.
Thank you for welcoming me back into your healthy kitchen.
It's a pleasure to have you here, Filomena.
Pleasure's all mine. I'm so excited to be talking about our topic today of herbs and spices. It's leading wonderfully from our topic that we had in part one, which talked about specific dietary recommendations that help to promote more anti-inflammatory effects. So great topic to extend that conversation today.
In our previous episode, we talked about inflammation. We talked about, how chronic inflammation has thought to play a major role in some chronic diseases as well. But we also learned how we can manage, this very challenging health issue through lifestyle changes and to maybe a dietary changes as well.
That's right. And it's really important for your viewers to remember it's not going to just be one food that's going to do this. There's not just that one magic pill or that one magic supplement, that one magic food or that one magic spice or herb that we're going to talk today that's going to do this for you. It really is a comprehensive approach that we need to take in living our lives day to day that encompasses health aspects of how we live, but also the food choices that we make on a consistent basis. So really is a comprehensive overview of all lifestyle, including dietary choices that will make a difference in our overall health.
Right. And it's not going to happen in 1 day or 2 days. But like you have said many times, it's a habit. It's a good habit to form and to have.
And like I tell all my clients, they're worth it. So they're worth the time that it takes to do that work, to invest in themselves and learning and also applying. And, we know change isn't difficult, but with some of these small changes that we're suggesting, we're really seeing the benefit. And I shared with you yesterday, usually within a very short period of time of making these changes, such as incorporating the variety of whole grains and fruits and vegetables and more plant-based foods, we start to see the benefit through less pain, less digestive issues, more energy. And so it's fantastic to witness those changes in people making these very important dietary and lifestyle choices.
And herbs and spices also play a big role in that, right?
They do, absolutely. So, and we take it for granted. We take these wonderful little culinary additions for granted. They have amazing health properties, and excited to share that with your viewers today.
Yeah. So, Filomena, what is the difference between herbs and spices?
So we kind of group them. Yeah, we kind of group them together, but really it's quite simple to kind of think of it this way, right? So herbs are leafy things, easy.
Yeah.
So things that have leaves and, look like plants. So basil and oregano and tarragon and sage are just some examples of some herbs. And then spices basically are seeds. things that we either grind up or add to our foods in whole. It could also be the bark of tree, like the cinnamon tree, where it's actually more of a woodsy bark. So it's more of seeds and actual bark as opposed to leafy greens, which are herbs would be.
So Filomena, so which herbs and spices have the most health benefits?
They're all amazing. So we don't want to kind of list just the top one, although I do have one for you, Tony. Of course, you know I was going to bring you one, but there are quite a few that are amazing to incorporate. So just as we tell people, you know, there's not just one powerful food to incorporate in your diet. The same applies to herbs and spices. There's just not that one. But there are a few really that do stand out from the rest of the crowd. And that is turmeric. Turmeric is an amazing spice to have. It has over 300 active compounds. And that main one that a lot of people know about is curcumin. And curcumin is an antioxidant. And it has amazing anti-inflammatory properties. It actually blocks some of those cytokines that we talked yesterday. Cytokines are those proteins that we can measure in our blood that tells us if we're running high in terms of inflammation. And so curcumin is known to block those inflammatory pathways, and incorporating turmeric in your dishes is a great addition to a healthy diet. And we do want to mention at this point, since we're talking about turmeric right off the bat, is that black pepper and turmeric should always be kind of paired. And that's because black pepper has a component in it called piperin. I hope I'm saying that right. And piperin has an amazing ability to increase the absorption of curcumin. Some sites say about 2,000% higher absorption with the combination of black pepper, you know, turmeric being one, but ginger and garlic are very much part of a lot of our cultural dishes too, and they're on our top kind of 5 list for today. And they not only elevate the flavor of their dishes, but they too have some amazing medicinal history to them. So for instance, garlic used in traditional medicine for thousands of years to treat a number of health conditions. And a lot of the health benefits from garlic are due to their sulfur compounds. And there's 2 specific types of sulfur compounds that garlic is known for. Allicin is one that most people might have heard about. The other is diallyl disulfide. So a little bit of science there for you. And they're anti-inflammatory compounds that are known to, again, block the pathways that lead to inflammation. So they block part of the mechanism involved in creating inflammation in the body. So a lot of the studies, however, looking at garlic in terms of cardiovascular protection as well as anti-inflammatory, are looking at much higher doses of concentrated aged garlic extract versus like fresh garlic. So whenever we're considering the health properties of herbs and spices, we always have to consider, while there's a great research to support their health promoting properties, some of them have anti-cancer properties attached to them, we have to consider that these studies have looked at very controlled dosages of these products. And it's very different than what we might be using in our cooking, which is, you know, a dash of this, a teaspoon of that, a quarter of a teaspoon of that other. It's not going to have the same potency and ultimately may not have the same health benefit. But I'm very much of the opinion that, you know, if you add a little bit of this and that throughout the day, it's going to add up, and it's better than not having it at all. One of the others you mentioned that's on my top list is definitely ginger. And so a lot of Asian cuisines have ginger added to it. Again, this is one of my favorites that I like to add more fresh than I do in a powdered format. And something else I should note as your dietitian guest today is that when you are purchasing your products, your herbs and spices, perhaps in a dried format, consider making sure that you're buying the all natural just plain straight old ginger, powdered ginger, granulated ginger, granulated garlic, as opposed to garlic salts or onion salts. So that could really be driving your overall sodium intake high, which we're really encouraging most individuals to pay attention to how much sodium they're consuming. So when they're buying their herbs and spices, always read your ingredient list and ensure that you're choosing ones that are just straight out the herb or the spice that you're purchasing and nothing else that's been added like salt.
Now, what about cinnamon?
Oh,
Filomena?
cinnamon, the beloved cinnamon. We're falling into fall weather soon, and cinnamon is an awesome spice to incorporate. And a lot of Middle Eastern cultures incorporate cinnamon. And there's two amazing ingredients. I'm going to try to say these: cinnamaldehyde and cinnamic acid. Those are the two properties within cinnamon that have been isolated to show antioxidant properties, and the dosage there is also important. Cinnamon also has a lot of research with blood sugar lowering, so in diabetes prevention and management. So we're always saying, if you're going to take any new products, or if you're thinking of taking a higher dose as in a supplement, including cinnamon, make sure that you're always talking to your family doctor or your specialist. Let them know. Your pharmacist is a fantastic partner that has a lot of the knowledge when it comes to interactions between medications and supplements. So even though it might look very benign to pick up a cinnamon supplement, or to pick up a different kind of supplement that has a combination of these herbs and spices, always double check with your pharmacist and family doctor to ensure that there isn't any interactions that might be happening with medications that you're taking.
You mentioned oregano before, and it's one of my, well, I like all of them. I'm lying if I said it's one of my favorites. I love oregano.
Yeah, and most people may not know that oregano is antibacterial and is immune boosting. So having oregano in your diet, I know it's something that culturally we grew up with as well, and I'm growing in my little herb garden too this summer. But it definitely does have some good health benefit to incorporate. It's just incorporating in a number of different ways that is enjoyable, and really making sure that it's adding enjoyment to the food that you're eating. Because again, there's no point adding something if you don't like it, because we're wanting you to sustain these changes. We want you to be able to make these dietary changes, enjoy them, and move forward with them in the long term. The other one is oregano. We love our oregano too as Italians, and there's so much fresh oregano. Basil, sorry, I meant to say basil. Yeah, sorry, I was repeating myself. So basil is another great one that we use culturally a lot, and it too has some good evidence behind it as being anti-inflammatory, and it's a wonderful fresh herb to incorporate with those fresh tomatoes that we have growing in our garden.
And I think many cultures use basil in their in their cuisine. Thai cuisine uses a lot of that, and it's just amazing the way sometimes when you smell a dish and it smells good, and basil does that, you can't wait to eat it, right? So it just, in addition to bringing flavor to it, but the aroma that it comes from them is just it's just incredible.
When I was doing a bit of that research in preparation for our talk today, Tony, really, regardless of what we look at, whether they be herbs or spices, it's overwhelming in terms of what the research is showing us in terms of how potent these herbs and spices are. And so whether we look at it for anti-inflammatory, or we might be looking at it for digestive, because mint and peppermint could be very helpful for digestion for people who might be suffering from that or having nausea. Those are fantastic herbs to incorporate there, but they carry so much more to them. They have B vitamins in them. They also contribute to dietary fiber. So there's many health benefits to incorporating them. So even though we're really talking about inflammation today, it extends far beyond inflammation to digestion, to overall nutrient composition, to also other chronic disease prevention, whether it be blood sugar management, cholesterol lowering, even anti-cancer properties in many of these herbs and spices.
So before we go to the recipes,
Yeah,
I have another question for you.
sure.
So is dark chocolate?
Oh, I love
a
a dark chocolate.
Is it a spice? Is it a herb? Or do we care what it is because it's good?
I don't care. I don't need to label dark chocolate. It's the
Exactly.
cocoa and the chocolate that really is what we're after. And the higher the cocoa level, the higher the antioxidants in them. So we're really looking at a 70% or higher when it comes to the antioxidants in the dark chocolate. It's part of my diet almost daily, so I don't feel guilty about talking about that every day. And most people think I sit on my dietitian throne and I don't have any of these other foods that bring me pleasure, but dark chocolate is one that brings me pleasure, and I'm happy to share that you can safely and healthfully incorporate some dark chocolate into your diet most days. Portion is, really where it's at. So small amount goes a long way, but it definitely does carry antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties in addition to the recommendations that we had yesterday. Dark chocolate is definitely there.
So let's talk about some recipes.
So the first one that I chose to showcase was a breakfast option. Well, it could be for lunch too, or dinner, really. It doesn't have to be labeled for any one particular meal. And it's my turmeric tofu scramble. So we kind of look for some alternatives for breakfast, right? But I know I always have breakfast for dinner too. So this could be an awesome dinner option. And it incorporates the tofu in there, which again, yesterday I talked about it substituting for some of our animal products, going more plant-based, incorporating more of those legumes, incorporating soy protein, very, very healthy. So I showcase this recipe with a number of my clients, and they really, really enjoyed it. So very simply, it has a block of tofu. It comes in different, I guess I want to say firmness is the best way to say it. So there's anywhere from soft all the way up to extra firm. So this recipe, I used a medium firm tofu, but some people have used the firm and it works just as well. You really want to get it to a bit of like a crumbly texture. So you take the tofu, you try to drain out some of that water. Well, you drain the water from the package for sure, but then you'd want to kind of squeeze out some of that water from the tofu, and you can do that with a press or just squeeze it with your hands, and then crumble it in a saute pan that you could use just a touch of olive oil with. And to that, you would add some of these spices that we're talking about today that are so beneficial for overall health. So it's got garlic powder and it's got turmeric in it. And the turmeric is what gives it its beautiful yellow color. And I actually posted a little trivia on social media when I did this recipe, and I said, is this scrambled eggs or not? And I would say 75% of people actually thought the recipe was scrambled eggs, but it was actually a scrambled tofu that had the turmeric in there for color. And so again, you can add the black pepper in it, which is important. And then I talked about nutritional yeast yesterday. And nutritional yeast is an addition that a lot of vegetarians will use in their cooking to give it a little bit of that cheesy flavor, but certainly a great source of protein, as well as B vitamins, in particular B12. So nutritional yeast is in there. And you can add in vegetables if you wish, or you can just have it quite simply like this. So chopping some onions and peppers, spinach and tomatoes, you can kind of make it your own. But this recipe is super simple, doesn't take very much to make, probably about 10 minutes. You can make the whole block. It'll probably give you about 4 portions for that, and you can save it for leftovers for a meal the next day, or share it with your loved ones at home. The second recipe that I chose actually gets, I think I love making my own stuff, just like you. And the second recipe that I chose was a homemade cracker that has some amazing ingredients in it that is super healthy, incorporates a lot of healthy ingredients, a lot of the herbs that we're talking about today. And again, you can, change it up too, switch things out if you like. But this particular recipe is a flourless cracker, and it uses quinoa and chia seed, both super healthy, and it incorporates pumpkin seeds and lots of fresh and dried herbs and spices. So I'm going to go through that a little bit. And again, I have some pictures here. You'll see it, how I laid it out basically as a big pancake, and you bake it, and then, you cut it into, squares or flatbread size, however you like it, and then you bake it again, and it gets super crispy. So the nice thing is that the chia seed, when mixed with water, as you know, that it swells, and that swelling, that soluble fiber, that gelination that it actually creates, binds the quinoa, which is a whole grain, and we know about, trying to incorporate more whole foods in our diet as being very important. And then incorporating that with some of the other ingredients, which have the pumpkin seeds. It can have sunflower seeds. You can add whatever really you like into that combination, and then you can add in your spices. So again, some of the ones that I enjoy always, just culturally for me, is onion powder, garlic powder. But what I had on my countertop was a beautiful fresh plant of rosemary. So I thought, I'm going to chop up some fresh rosemary. And I put that right into the mixture, and it just was lovely in terms of the flavor that it imparted on that cracker. So this is a rosemary quinoa chia cracker that has no flour in it whatsoever. It incorporates some of our spices that we talked about, and you can certainly add heat to this. Hands down, you can add heat to this. So you can add some chilies to it. You can add some cayenne to it. And perhaps maybe if you don't have fresh rosemary, you can certainly do the dried rosemary too. It works really well. And it's super simple. Really, you're just combining all your ingredients together, and then you're just flattening it out on some parchment paper in a big pizza pan and baking it, and then cutting it out into your cracker squares. And it becomes such a great, healthy, unprocessed cracker to have in your pantry. That's super healthy.
Filomena, I have a couple of recipes as well that I would like to share with our viewers. The first one is pesto alla genovese. This delicious creamy spread is traditionally made with pine nuts, fresh basil, garlic, Parmesan cheese, and olive oil. For this recipe, I've used the food processor instead of the traditional mortar and pestle. So place the pine nuts and garlic in the processor and pulse about 7-8 times. Add the basil, the salt and pepper, and pulse it again until all the leaves are chopped up. With the processor running, slowly add the olive oil, add the cheese, and there you have it. Pesto alla genovese. This delicious sauce can be used in so many different ways in the kitchen. You can put it on pasta, of course. You can spread it on a sandwich. You can mix it with roasted vegetables, potatoes, spread it on grilled meats. You can take a tablespoon and put it in a minestrone soup or any vegetable soup. But one of my favorite ways to use it is to cook eggs with pesto. Delicious, nutritious, and very healthy. My second recipe is pesto alla trapanese. This is a Sicilian variation of the pesto alla genovese. The ingredients are 70 grams of toasted almonds without the skin, 350 grams of cherry tomatoes with the seeds removed, 1 or 2 cloves of garlic, 120 grams of basil, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of pepper flakes, a 1/4 teaspoon of ground black pepper, 100 ml of extra virgin olive oil, and 80 grams of grated pecorino cheese. To prepare the pesto alla trapanese, add the almonds and garlic in a food processor and pulse until the ingredients are finely chopped. Add the basil, the tomatoes, the salt and pepper, and pulse again to combine all of the ingredients. With the motor still running, slowly add the olive oil, remove the sauce to a bowl, and mix in all the grated pecorino cheese. There you have it, pesto alla trapanese. Serve this pesto alla trapanese with your favorite pasta or as a spread for bruschetta, grilled chicken, fish, or steak. Every time and I'm in this in a good way, every time I talk with you, I get a headache. My head just explodes with stuff inside it. And we've learned that spices, herbs and spices, not only add flavor and aroma and color to our foods, but they're also very important for their medicinal properties that they have. And so we hope that, I know I like to use them, and I'm going to use more of those. And I hope that everybody who's watching today will think about using them because of their flavor, because of their taste, but also because of their
health properties. Yeah, and our ancestors had it right. They were using a lot of these herbs and spices for thousands of years before that we started using them in modern cooking, like you had mentioned at the beginning of your segment. So, our ancestors had it right. They knew that there was a lot of healing properties, antibacterial, antioxidant, digestive improving properties. Now the anti-inflammatories become a big topic. So they had it right. We just need to be open to doing things a little differently and not always make it just about what's quick, easy, and convenient. Absolutely. Filomena, again, for me, it's been a truly learning experience and a real pleasure to talk with you. We'll probably see you again in another webinar, I hope. And the pleasure's been all mine. Thank you for inviting me to participate, and congratulations on your series, Tony. Thank you. Thank you, Filomena, and you stay well. Thank you. You too. Goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye. And thank you to all of you for dropping by my kitchen, Tony's Healthy Kitchen. Please join me again next week. We will talk about carbohydrates and the role that they play in a healthy diet. Our special guest will be registered dietitian Rowena Leung. Until then, be well and stay healthy.